Okay. Hi, folks. We're going to try this again. Second time's the charm. Going to kick things off here at the Joint Standing Committee on Labor and Housing. It is clear it is definitely Wednesday, it's definitely midweek, and it's definitely mid-session. So we've had a few technical difficulties. But with that, we're going to try introductions again. I'm Senator Maddie Daughtry, and I represent Senate District 24, which are the communities of Harpswell, Freeport, North Yarmouth, Brunswick, and Pownell. And now that we are streaming live, I'm going to kick it over again to my esteemed co-chair for him to practice his second chance at introducing himself.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think instead I'll just quote an entire act from Julius Caesar, which I think will be entertaining just in case there's more technical questions. I'm Representative Mike Sylvester. I represent District 39, which is the Eastern Peninsula portion, which is the really fantastic portion of Portland and the Fighting Islands of Casco Bay, where the sun is shining down on us like snow. It would be 6 inches of sun if it was collecting on the ground, but the ground is too cold.
Thank you very much, Representative Sylvester. And Representative Drinkwater, as I was saying, and then instantly realized something was going wrong technically, I am going to stick alphabetically, but I'm going to flip it. So Representative Warren, you're up first with introductions. And if we've lost Sophie, then officially I'm not allowed to mess around with the alphabet. Okay, Sophie, going once, going twice. Okay, Representative Drinkwater, I guess we'll go back to the normal order. Senator Guerin, if you please introduce yourself. Oh, we can't hear you.
I had the mute off once. I am Senator Guerin, representing the Sparkling White District of Senate District 10 in Penobscot County.
Thank you so much. And then we will kick it over to Representative Bradstreet is not with us this morning. So kick it over to Representative Cuddy.
Good morning. My name is Scott Cuddy. I represent House District 98, which is Winterport, Frankfort, Searsport, and Swanville. I live in Winterport. I also serve on the EUT committee, which is currently having a joint meeting with the ENR committee. So I have far too many acronyms in my brain this morning, and I'm having a slight case of schizophrenia, so I will try to focus as much as I can.
Duly understood. Representative Drinkwater.
Good morning. I'm Representative Drinkwater, District 121, and I am the king of my domain.
Of your Hollywood Square on Zoom. Representative Gear is not with us this morning. Representative Morris is also in his other committee. So Representative Pepworth.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Pepworth. I represent House District 133, where we too are enjoying sunshine. It includes Blue Hill, Brooksville, Brooklyn, Castine, Sedgwick, and Surrey.
And Representative Prescott.
I'm Dwayne Prescott. I represent Waterboro and Lyman. That would be House District 17.
And Representative Rader. Oh, you're on mute. Still nothing. Nope. Well, I guess I'll jump in and do her introduction. Now we can hear you.
Okay, fine. I'm Amy Rader. I represent District 125 in Bangor, and I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The good that men do is oft interred with their bones. The evil lies after them.
Well done. Well played. And Representative Warren, you'll have 50 points to Gryffindor if you can continue the monologue. We can't hear you, Representative Warren. Oh, I think we also, oh, yes, no. Now we can see you. And now she's frozen. So I will, with her, oh, no, now we can see her. Yes, no, maybe. Well, we are joined in some form. Oh, okay. Still can't hear her. We are joined by some version of hopefully not the ghost of Julius Caesar and hopefully the esteemed colleague of Representative Sophie Warren. With that, I would also like to introduce and thank for his extreme patience, our committee clerk, Justin Purvis, as well as our Opal analyst, Steve Langland. And if you can't tell by the punchy nature of this morning's introductions, we are absolutely in the throw of things. For those who are watching and following along, you will see committee members jumping this way and that. Many of us have second committees, many of us have different bills. So just beg all of your patience as we're trying to, steer the ship towards the home base. I don't know why I mixed those up today. It is just one of those days. I don't know if Representative Sylvester has a better quote from Julius Caesar to throw in there, but With that, before we
Oh, let it be with Caesar.
Oh man, it has been a long morning, guys. So with that, any questions before we jump into our work sessions / language reviews? Any last minute technology issues? Any ghosts? Okay, with that, let's kick things off. We're gonna jump in. Let's kick things off with doing reopening LD 225, an act regarding the treatment of vacation time upon the cessation of employment. And I will kick it over to Steve.
Sure. I believe that Representative Rader has a reconsideration for the committee. So I would defer to her, but I'm happy to answer any questions as they come up.
Representative Rader, do you want to present what you've brought before us for reconsideration?
Absolutely. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I switched headsets, so hopefully that worked. Basically, we were in negotiations between interested parties. One party in particular, the chamber, had language that they wanted to add, and the governor's office weighed in as well. So it's the same bill, except we are exempting employers with 10 or fewer employees and public employees. Stephen, is there any nuance that I need to add to this at all?
I would just say also it applies, my understanding is it applies only to vacation time accrued on or after January 1st of 2023.
That was the third piece. Thank you so much, Mr. Langland. Yeah, that is pretty much it. It was a pretty simple and straightforward adjustment. I would love to be able to recall that so we can have another vote on it.
Absolutely. First, real quick before we move on, is it possible to pop the amended language? Do we have this drafted up to have it on the screen?
Yeah.
And then while we're getting that set up, Representative Sylvester.
I will defer my hand. I was going to make a motion, so we can peek at this first.
Representative Cuddy.
I was just curious about procedure. What is are we going to have a motion, second vote on the motion, and then re-amend the bill, or how does that work, Mr. Lang?
If we want to reopen the bill, which, go through the conversation, we would go through the process of those who voted in the majority would have to move to reconsider our actions. Then we'd take a vote on that. Then we'd have a conversation again and go from there. If that answers your question, hopefully that was coherent with that. Senator Guerin?
We're going to want a breakout session when it comes down to, being time for a vote.
Absolutely. That's why I kind of wanted to get the language up on the screen for everyone to be able to look through it, ask questions, and then we can take a quick caucus and come back if that's amenable.
Okay, thank you.
I can try to drop it in the chat as well, if that would be helpful.
Thank you so much. Representative Drinkwater?
Steve anticipated my question because I would like to print out a hard copy, put it in my file.
Okay, any other questions while we're looking at this? Not seeing any. Should we take this moment to break into our caucuses and then reassemble? Looking for some sort of motion flag. Representative Sylvester.
If we're going to reconsider, I was just thinking we'd make the motion to reconsider, go into our, but
Sure.
Okay, all right.
Either is fine. So if you want to make that motion right now, go right ahead.
I would make that motion to reconsider.
We have a motion.
I would second that.
And we have a second from Representative Cuddy. Justin, would you mind calling the roll? Or actually, for this, we can do a show of hands. I think that's fine. It's amenable. So all those amenable to reconsideration, please raise your hands and keep them raised. Okay, and then all down. And then those opposed, please raise their hand. Okay, it looks like we have it moving forward for reconsideration. With that, Senator Garin, do you have a question before we break for caucuses?
No, I don't.
Just wanted to double check. I want to make sure I wasn't missing a hand there. Okay, with that, Justin, if you could send us to our breakout rooms, please, for caucus.
I just opened them. Yep.
And did Steve get that posted to the chat?
I did.
Okay, give everyone a second to reassemble. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we've got to it. I think we're all back. So I will use my handy gavel since I don't have the Coonhound's bray handy to get everyone's attention. We are currently discussing LD 225. We had an amendment from the bill's sponsor, and we've just come back from caucus. I don't know, we had a motion to reopen it, so I don't know if we want to have a discussion on the amendment and go from there, but looking for some motions from the virtual floor. Representative Sylvester. Representative Sylvester.
My first question was whether or not we had lost the sponsor.
We have. I just received a message that her internet cut out and she is rebooting and trying to get it going.
Okay, so I'm just going to then say that one of the questions we discussed was whether this represented a deal between the business community, the chief executive, and others, and the sponsor said yes, that these were the concerns of the chamber in opposition to the bills, and those have been addressed, and that the objections of the chief executive have been addressed in this amendment, and so this amendment represents that deal of interested parties. So so I'm just passing that along since I can't. Oh, here she comes.
And there she is. Welcome back,
So
Representative.
sorry about that. I apologize. My internet just completely cut out for 2 minutes there. No
Sounds
idea
like
why.
You're on Monday.
Okay.
Representative, I was just summarizing our conversation about the negotiations between the interested parties, and that this represented a deal. And since we like to repeat everything 2 or 3 times, I was wondering if you could just verify that for.
I'm sorry, verify the negotiation
That this amendment
we had between parties?
Yes, that this amendment represents an agreement between
Yes.
the parties.
It represents an agreement between organized labor, the Maine Chamber of Commerce, and the governor's office.
Wonderful. Any further questions, thoughts, feelings, monologues, motions, quotes? Representative
Cookies?
Cuddy.
I would make a motion that we pass the bill as amended by Representative Rader's amendment.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Seconded by Representative Sylvester. Representative Drinkwater, did I see you unmute and starting to get your hand up before I call in Representative Cuddy?
Well, you were calling out for things. I wondered if there was any cookies.
Unfortunately, no virtual cookies. They haven't quite figured that out yet. All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any conversation on the motion? Going once, going twice. Well, with that, Justin, if you could call the roll, please.
Senator Daughtry,
Yes.
Senator Daughtry, yes. Senator Guerin,
Yes.
Senator Guerin, yes. Senator Hickman is absent. Representative Sylvester,
Yes.
Representative Sylvester, yes. Representative Bradstreet is absent. Representative Cuddy,
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater,
Yay.
Representative Drinkwater, yay. Representative Gear is absent. Representative Morris is absent. Representative Pebworth,
Yes.
Representative Pebworth, yes. Representative Prescott,
Yes.
Representative Prescott is yes. And Representative Rader,
Yes.
Representative Rader, yes. Representative Warren,
Yes.
Representative Warren, yes. So we have all in favor, 4 absent. And what was the second? Who seconded the motion, if you don't mind sharing?
Representative Sylvester.
All right, thank you.
And with
Yes,
that,
oh, sorry, go ahead. I was going to repeat what I said because I asked another question, but you go ahead.
no, if you could just repeat it.
Yeah, we have, 9 in favor, 4 absent.
It is unanimous of those present and voting. I don't know if I have to say that twice for good luck, but with that, I will close the work session on LD 225. And thank you to the bill sponsor. With that, we're going to open our next bill, LD 607. I don't know if we're technically opening it. We're going to present the bill sponsor has a amendment. It's sort of a report back since this bill was last before the committee. This is LD 607, an act to restore overtime protections for Maine workers, from Representative Rachel Talbot Ross. And Justin, I don't see her in the Zoom. Do we know if she's able to join us today?
I actually have to call her right now.
Okay, while we're waiting for Representative Talbot Ross, since we do have Representative Sylvester with us right now, let's skip to his bill in the interest of time. The LD 775, an act to include within the definitions of public employee and judicial employee those who have been employed for less than 6 months. So I will kick it over to Representative Sylvester to sort of discuss where things are. And Mr. Langland, if you could actually get the text up on the screen while Representative Sylvester is discussing it, please.
So this also represents an agreement between interested parties. Those who've been on the committee for a minute will remember that there was an agreement earlier. In second thought, the chief executive's office and the different departments had some other issues that they wished to raise. And the main one being that, well, people are employees while they're working. They didn't want to go through pre-disciplinary hearings. And so what this does is it just states clearly that while the employee has rights, that the employer maintains its right to not have these pre-disciplinary hearings. So, basically the representation of the grievance procedure for employees in their first 6 months, but they have all the other safety rights and all of those sorts of things. So it seems like a good agreement to me as the sponsor. And I'll just leave it at that before we move to motions.
Do I have any questions on the language in front of us? And since we do the screen share, if you can just raise your hand, I'm trying to go through to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Let's see. Okay, Representative Cuddy.
And I apologize if this was already said. Is this another where we need to reconsider the bill? We have voted this through, I believe. Okay, so we do need to reconsider.
We would have to reconsider.
Happy to make that motion, but I see there are other hands up, so I'll defer.
Representative Drinkwater.
Well, thank you for going alphabetical. I would like to have Oprah post it on the chat so I could download it and put it in my file. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Senator Garin?
The summary is cut off on the screen, and I was wondering if, thank you, that's better. Steve, you would want to walk through what this would do to change current law?
Try to unmute myself. So this amendment specifies that employees of the state are not entitled to a pre-disciplinary hearing during their required probationary period. The second section of the bill, if you recall, was more of a technical change, just clarifying some language that was a little bit ambiguous in the bill as printed, in that actually the second section was the majority report the last time that this bill was considered. So in terms of the new part, that's section 1, and that simply says employees are not entitled to a pre-disciplinary hearing. I'm happy to go further into that if you would like, or in terms of what that is and why that might be a concern, but I'll leave that up to the committee.
So are they allowed that pre-disciplinary hearing now?
If they are an employee. So what the bill does is it makes it so that they are employees on day 1. And so they would, as the bill is drafted, have that right. But this specifies that they do not have that right.
Okay, I get it now. Thank you, Steve.
Sure. I will stop sharing and I will drop it in the chat if that's amenable to the committee.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Do I have any questions from the committee? Any need for more information? I think at this time, Representative Cuddy, if you'd be interested in making that motion to reconsider our actions.
Having voted on the majority, I would like to reconsider our previous action on this bill.
And do I have a second? Seconded by Representative Warren. Okay, let's do a show of hands on this one. So please raise your hand if you're in favor of reconsideration of the bill in front of us. Let's see. Okay, hands down. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, the majority has it on that. Senator Garin.
Oh, I forgot to lower my hand yet again.
No, you're fine. And Representative Warren, I don't know if you have your hand up still from seconding or if you have a question. Okay, Representative Sylvester, followed by Representative Prescott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this represents a 3-year negotiation amongst all the parties who are employers and employees. They've really hammered out this language from what the original bill was in the 129th to this language. This was the last concern of any of the state public employers, including judicial. There have been enormous amounts of meetings that have come up with this agreement, and so over the 3-year period. And so I just throw that out there that, if you think that folks should not have this non-status where they're nothing, they're not an employee, but they're working for the state of Maine, then I guess you would be in opposition to this bill. And if you think they should have some status as an employee, but the employer should not have to have the burden of the grievance procedure during that time, still have the right to terminate because they're on probation. So the employer really maintained all the rights that they were most concerned about. Then you would be in favor of this bill. And so that's my statement on it.
Thank you, Representative Sylvester. Representative Prescott?
I'd like to have a moment to speak with the crew. Can we get a room?
Yeah, we can have a corner caucus. Justin, if you could put us into our breakout rooms, please. It feels like I should have a magic wand instead of, I guess if you reverse the gavel, it can be the, telling y'all, getting a little punchy.
Hello, Representative Gear. So they're doing caucus on LD 775. Would you like me to put you in the Democratic caucus?
Yes, please, Justin. Thank you.
Yeah.
For everyone watching, we're just waiting for everyone to rejoin from their caucuses, so it'll be just a second.
I think we're back.
Think we've got everyone. Oh, it says Representative Drinkwater joining us.
Yep, I just let him in.
Okay, I think we're all back from our caucuses. We have a motion to reconsider. So we still need a motion on the next portion, right, Representative Sylvester?
That's correct. And I was just, and maybe some discussion.
Representative Cuddy,
I would make a motion of ought to pass as amended with the amendment that Representative Sylvester presented earlier.
we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Seconded by Representative Pebworth. Discussion on the motion before us. We're being a very not chatty group today. Maybe a little bit of a giggly group, but Representative Sylvester.
Yeah, I just wanted to make really clear the fact that the the state still has the right to terminate folks whenever they want. And what the amendment does is that the employee, when they also have the absolute right to discipline without using the grievance procedure. And so even if the person is a union member, they can't use the union process until they're off probation. And that's what this agreement is. And it really came down to a matter of resources, on the state's part, and being able to have the ability during that probationary period to make sure that an employee was going to work out. And then the other piece of it, the reason that the state is compelled is that they lose folks during that 6-month period. And so they're hoping that this agreement will allow them to retain more people, get them through their probation, guide them through the probation. And if they extend, the probation, that's all of that's already covered in the contract.
Thank you, Representative Sylvester. Representative Prescott.
Thank you. So give me some examples of the benefit of becoming immediately an employee.
It's always, those of you who know me, know that it's easier for me to use hyperbole than right. And so, or exaggeration. And so, for example, you can't be told to go hold 2 wires and stand in a puddle, right? So you get all of your health and safety, just like as any other employee in the state, for any other employee. You would get you couldn't say, well, I'm glad you worked this week, but we're not going to pay you. Right. So those sorts of rights about the ability to be paid for the work that you have right now, all of that is really gray. And we are the only state that I know of that has this period where people aren't employees, where they have no status. And I think it's just one of those legislative hiccups that happened, now no one can remember why it happened. But it just kind of gives folks those sorts of basic rights that every worker in the state has. Does that answer your question, Representative Prescott?
Well, it brings up another question. May I?
Okay.
We have plenty of laws protecting people against not getting paid. And OSHA is very well covered on safety. So I don't see what the reasoning is behind that, because they are protected under other situations, under statutes.
Every one of those laws says that you have to be an employee. And that's sort of the fly in the ointment here, is that these workers for those 6 months are not employees. And that's the basis of what this bill does, is it just makes them employees. It doesn't add any additional burden to the state, but it does make them employees under the law. And if you are not classified as an employee, none of those laws cover you.
Representative Drinkwater.
Yes, do we have somebody here from the Department of Labor or something that could answer that? Because my interpretation is they're they're employee on probation. So they're still considered an employee. I'd like to find out from whoever we have here that could answer that question from the Department of Labor. Do we have somebody?
We don't have someone-
Elizabeth Rogan.
I believe
Um,
Mike Rowland is here from the Department of Labor.
I was gonna say we have
Mr.
Mike
Brogan.
Rowland as well as Anya Chundi here as well. So Mr. Rowland, I don't know if you'd like to jump in.
Sure. Can you hear me? Yeah. I believe the interpretation is correct, although I sort of hadn't been paying attention to this bill and the amendments. But the interpretation that a probationary employee is an employee, at least under our statutes, would be treated as an employee, whether they're probationary or not. But I will have to look more closely to make sure I'm understanding correctly.
Okay, Representative Sylvester?
So that is the sort of hiccup in statute, Director Rowland, that we're trying to fix here. Is
Yeah.
it actually says in statute that they're not, and I wonder if Ms. Trundy Director Trundy could come forward and chat a little bit about the negotiations, because I know she was very involved in them.
The
Yes,
next question.
absolutely. Thank you very much. My name is Anya Trendy. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Administrative and Financial Services, which encompasses the Bureau of Human Resources for the state of Maine. I think that the distinction here is that these are employees and they are entitled to the protections under law that are afforded to employees, but in the 6-month period, they are not covered by all of what the what collective bargaining encompasses. And so 2 examples that I would give that are not so hyperbolic of where this would matter, and that are specific examples that MSEA has talked to us about, pertain to grievance, leave in the event of a death in the family, having that extend to people who are in their 6 months automatically, and then also parental leave. That's a big one. And that's actually something that the state thought could be a big benefit to us, is if the parental leave did extend in this first 6-month period, because it allows us to hire people who are expecting children and who would like to take that leave. But as things exist currently and where that wouldn't automatically extend, it's a consideration in their hiring process that the applicant is making, where they might decide not to take a job with the state if they know that they're not going to be able to take that leave in the first 6 months. And so we thought that would actually help us with some of our difficulties hiring.
Thank you, Ms. Trundy. Representative Prescott?
My question was answered. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Any other questions? And thank you very much for that clarification, and real world experience that does not link back to electrocution is always appreciated. Sorry, Representative Sylvester. Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, I think we're ready to call the motion. So Justin, if you wouldn't mind calling the roll, please. And thank you to Director Rowland and Ms. Trundy for your feedback and participation. And
Senator Daughtry?
Yay.
Senator Daughtry, yay. Senator Guerin?
No.
Senator Guerin, no. Senator Hickman is absent. Representative Sylvester?
Yay.
Representative Sylvester, yay. Representative Bradstreet is absent. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy is yes. Representative Drinkwater?
Nay.
Representative Drinkwater is nay. Representative Gear?
Yes.
Representative Gear is yes. Representative Morris is absent. Representative Pepworth?
Yes.
Representative Pepworth, yes. Representative Prescott is here.
No.
I'm sorry. Yes, Representative Prescott. I got you mixed up with Morris for a second.
No.
Representative Prescott is no. Representative Rader?
Yes.
Representative Rader is yes. Representative Warren?
Yes.
Representative Warren is yes. So the motion. 7 in favor, 3 not in favor, 3 absent. And what's the minority?
we have a minority report?
Not to pass.
Not to pass. So with that, we have our two reports. Representative Sylvester, before we close the work session.
Yeah, I just wanted to apologize for getting that piece wrong. Normally, we just threw this onto the session yesterday. Normally, I do my homework and reread my own bills. I think I was confusing it with another bill. So I went too far into the hyperbole. And if I had if I'd had the normal time to know that this was coming up today, I would have reviewed all that. So I apologize.
Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Representative Sylvester. I appreciate that apology because what it comes down to is credibility. And you know, and if you don't know, just say I don't know, because again, it comes back to credibility. So thank you for that apology.
Any further questions? I see that Representative Talbot Ross has been able to join us, so being mindful of her schedule, I'd like to move on to that, but also want to leave room for any other discussion. Seeing none, thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to close the work session on LD 775. Then I'm going to transition and reopen, well, not reopen the work session because we haven't gotten there. Sorry, we keep putting the cart before the horse today, Representative Talbot Ross. So please, if we could have you come before us and give us an update on LD 607 and where it's been with your negotiations. So thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Senator, and Representative Sylvester. Thank you all for all of the work that you're doing, particularly at this pace. So I appreciate the opportunity to come before you again. I believe you all have the resolve before you. You've seen it, LD 607 at this point. I'm really proud to say that this resolve came about after a number of conversations with the Maine Department of Labor, led by Commissioner Fortman and her staff, along with folks from the labor rights advocacy community and in talks with the state chamber. And we have concluded that the biggest thing that we can do right now, a very significant step that we can take right now, will be to work with employers to understand the overtime protections and to make sure that the classifications of employees are in line with the law, to inform employees of their rights, to put in place measures that will help keep track of hours, and to really use this time to educate employers around this particular piece of labor. I will say that part of the movement to change this into a resolve was we are on the really quite close to having the federal government institute some thresholds changes, and thought that while here in Maine we are already ahead of that curve, we would use this time to educate employers, make sure that this committee always is informed as to the pace and the work and the results and the impact of that outreach and education. Therefore, you'll get an annual report on what's going on. And if we need to come back and make some changes, then we'll certainly do that. But what you see before you is a product of discussions and negotiations with the Maine Department of Labor, and has been approved by the Maine Chamber of Commerce as a consensus way of moving this work forward.
Thank you, Representative Talbot Ross. Just real quick, does anyone need this put up on the screen to be able to look, or need a link to it? I could see your Drinkwater's hand going up. So Mr. Langland, if you wouldn't mind sharing it on the screen as well as dropping it into the chat as well. And I don't know, Representative Talbot Ross, one, thank you for all of your work on this and for bringing this agreement in front of us. I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add, or if there's any questions for the bill sponsor while she's with us. Just sort of slowly scroll on down. Senator Garin.
Wondering if Mr. Langley can send that over to me in an email because it's scrolling faster than I can read.
No worries. We can get that emailed over to you.
Yeah, I think I dropped it in the chat, but
Oh, okay.
I'm happy to. Yeah.
The chat's better. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, the PDF is right there, Senator Garin. Let us know if it doesn't, if you have any trouble opening it.
The only thing I want to point out, and I think I pointed this out to the bill sponsor, if I may. The resolve as written had a report annually due to the Joint Standing Committee with Jurisdiction over Labor Matters. Resolves are limited in duration, so if you want something ongoing, you would need to put that in statute, and so that's what I did with the piece on the screen. I hope that was okay with both the department and the sponsor, but I think that it better captures the intent of the legislation.
I don't know, Representative Talbot Ross, is that amenable to you?
That is correct. Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question, Senator, and thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Langland.
Is there anyone here from the department who can speak on that, if that's amenable for them as well?
This is Mike Rowland from the Bureau of Labor Standards, the department. Yeah, absolutely it is. And again, we'd like to thank Mr. Langland for putting our proposals into the correct legislative language, which he's better at than we are, obviously.
We're very grateful to have him with us, and thank you, Director Rowland. Representative Gear?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I might be confusing two bills, so please someone correct me if I'm confused. But I wanted to check, is one of the things that we heard from employers during testimony on several of the bills we heard was the difficulty in tracking hours for some employees. I'm wondering if part of this amendment would include communicating easier ways to track overtime and track hours for different classifications of employees.
I don't know if anyone wants to jump in who feels like they can answer that. Dr. Rowland?
I guess I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
And
I guess I would just say during testimony on some of the overtime bills we heard, overtime related bills that we heard this last time period, it seemed that there was, we heard a discussion of the difficulty in tracking employee hours. And I hear myself, and knowing that there are many easy ways to do that, I just want to make sure that if we're educating employers about this issue, that we take the opportunity to illustrate to them that there are easy ways to do this.
Yes, I'm sorry, I do understand now. And yes, we will. That would be part of our efforts to educate employers in general. And it will definitely be part of this additional effort to educate employers about overtime classification.
Thank you.
And Representative Talbot Ross, did you have something to add before I jump to Senator Garin?
No, I just wanted a little clarification on the question as well, but Mr. Rowland answered it well. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Garin?
Steve, I'm not seeing that in my chat. I see nothing in the chat at all. Is my chat not working, or has there been nothing in the chat today?
I will drop it in right now. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
It says it was sent. Let me know if you have good luck with that.
Fingers crossed. Senator, I'm giving Senator Gear an up. Is your hand still up for follow-up, or?
Yeah, I just had one other question, probably for Director Rowland. I was also curious as to if we have a sense of the timing on the changes to the federal rules on this.
Last we heard, I think April was when an announcement would be expected, but I haven't heard anything recently, so I wouldn't hold them to that. Probably sometime later in the spring, we'll hear something.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Representative Drinkwater?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I would like to say thank you, Representative Ross. To me, this is a real change of heart here. I mean, we voted on it. We were in the minority, and all of a sudden you've said, let's come back. And obviously you've done due diligence and you've had a moment where you said, well, you know, perhaps we should change direction of this bill. So I would like to thank you for that. I can tell you from being an employer of 10 people that the Department of Labor used to come around and give us posters to put up, and we had to display them on the bulletin board. And I think I would encourage the Department of Labor to do the same thing, because they used to drop in once in a while just to say hi, give us give us any guidance that you'd like to see. And they really had a hands-on approach to all of us as employers in the state of Maine. And I'd like to see a poster come out to explain that these are the rules and regulations of salaried workers, and we expect you to comply with it. So shout out, thank you, Representative Ross, for turning this into resolve. I think that's a good direction to go.
Thank you, Representative.
Representative Cuddy? Can't hear you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I decided to close the Zoom screen first because that's a really good way to get back into the meeting. So I just wanted to echo, Assistant Majority Leader Talbot Ross always does great work on her bills. But I also wanted to echo that if Representative Drinkwater wants to sponsor the bill to add people to the Maine Department of Labor so they can do things the way they used to do them before the department ran out of that ability, I would be happy to co-sponsor that.
Well, if I may just chime in, Madam Chair, I think that's a great idea, but I'd like a head count before I agree to sponsor that.
Well, this is an excellent opportunity to remind you all as a Senate Chair that we'll be going before appropriations tomorrow at 1 p.m. So you can all have it all laid out there. Ask every single question you want to have about head count and FTE and part-time equivalent. And I'm sure we can even ask about posters. So I know things are coming fast and furious, but I'd be remiss if I did not remind you that we have our time in the light tomorrow at 1 p.m. with AFA.
I'm going to dearly miss that meeting.
Gotta get us your questions so we can make sure we get them in there, which is just, I will tangentially remind members that if you do have questions and you are unable to join us, please, email the chairs and we can make sure that those get highlighted. With that, I too want to echo the gratitude towards the bill sponsor. Thank you, Representative Talbot Ross, for bringing this before us. So where we are now is we have this, we would have to reconsider our actions and reopen it for a work session. Since I was not on this committee at this time, I would need someone else to make that motion who voted in the majority. Representative Sylvester.
Having been in the majority, I would move that we reconsider LD 607.
And do I have a second? Seconded by Representative Pebworth. All those in favor, please raise your hand and keep it up high so I can see. It is unanimous of those present and voting. Okay, I will now open the work session on LD 607. Do I have a motion? Representative Sylvester.
I would move ought to pass as amended by Representative Talbot Ross.
And do I have a second? I think Representative Rader's hand shot up the fastest, so seconded by Representative Rader. Any other questions before we move the motion? Seeing none, Justin, if you can call the roll.
Senator Daughtry?
Yes.
Senator Daughtry, yes. Senator Gearin?
No.
Senator Gearin, no. Senator Hickman's absent. Representative Sylvester?
Yes.
Representative Sylvester, yes. Representative Bradstreet's absent. Representative Cuddy?
Yes.
Representative Cuddy, yes. Representative Drinkwater?
Yes.
Representative Drinkwater, yes. Representative Gear?
Yes.
Representative Gear, yes. Representative Morris is absent. Representative Pebworth?
Yes.
Representative Pebworth is yes. Representative Prescott?
Yes.
Representative Prescott is yes. Representative Rader?
Yes.
Representative Rader, yes. Representative Warren?
Yeah.
Representative Warren, yes. So we have a
Justin, I changed my vote to yes, please.
Okay. That sounds good. All right. So motion passes. I'll pass as amended. All in favor? With
So it
3
is
absent.
unanimous of those present and voting. Congratulations to the bill sponsor, and I will close the work session on LD 607. Thank you for making the time to be with us this morning.
Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.
Up next, we have LD 1881. I don't know, Justin, was Representative Dillingham going to be joining us for this? So I think this might have just been a language review. I'm not sure if we got our wires crossed on
Yeah,
this.
I didn't hear anything from Representative Dillingham when I sent out the email that it was going into work session.
Mr. Langland, I don't know if you.
So we tabled this bill previously. I know that Representative Sylvester had put out a couple of sort of on the fly proposed amendments, but I have not heard from either the sponsor or anyone else on any further movement on the bill.
So we don't have a concrete amendment from that yet, correct?
Correct. I think the bill is still very much in deliberation status.
So the fact that we don't have the bill sponsor with us in deference to her schedule, I think at this time, I know we're coming down to the crunch, but I would feel more comfortable if we could table this at this time and circle back with the bill sponsor. Representative Sylvester?
I'd move we table.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Representative Drinkwater. I'm going to do a show of hands on this one. So all those in favor of tabling this bill at this time, keep your hands up. Senator Guerin, I don't know if you want to vote on that. Okay, it is a unanimous of those present and voting. So that closes our semi-work session on LD 1881. Next, we're going to move on to our language reviews. So Mr. Langland, I'm going to kick it over to you. I ask everyone's patience. We have a big chunk of ones to go through. So I think we'll be starting with LD 1874, correct?
Sure. So LD 1874, let me share my screen actually, that would be better.
And if you wouldn't mind dropping it, I'm going to cut off Representative Drinkwater before you ask. If you wouldn't mind a link into the chat for the bill as well.
Yep. So I'll do that after I sort of go through it. So LD 1874 is an act to clarify COVID-19 paid leave for school employees. If you recall, the bill was amended so that public school employees who have 60 days or more of accrued paid leave are not eligible for leave. And the other part of the amendment was that an SAU shall use federal funds to pay for it, to the extent that the funds are available to be used for the purposes in accordance with federal law and regulations. The other portion is that an SAU shall restore sick leave time to a public school employee who used sick leave pursuant to the law as it stood in LD 993. An SAU shall compensate for the absence, a public school employee who is absent from work for any reason described in essentially LD 993 prior to the effective date of this act, and who was otherwise not eligible to be paid for an absence. Going back to the funding piece, I did reach out to the Department of Education. They were not able to be here today. Let me find my paperwork. They said that federal funds that came from COVID, so under the American Rescue Plan and these so-called ESSER funds, would be able to be used for the purposes of this bill. However, the districts had to submit their completed applications for those funds by the end of September. And one requirement of that funding was public reporting of how the funds would be spent. So essentially, the window on federal funding through ESSER grants for this has closed because the last round was supposed to be sort of claimed for last September. So it's possible that some schools did, in fact, use the funds this way, but in the future, there's no way to sort of make them use the funds for this. So I don't know if the committee wants to consider changing the language to may, or as it stands, since there's no federal funding, I think obviously the local SAU would have to pick up the tab. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and I will drop this in the chat for your consumption.
Thank you. Representative Sylvester?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that the intent was that they should use that first, but not to declare that they will only use that funding. So it was sort of a cascade of federal to state to their own resources. But I guess my question, Steve, is, are we solving the problem that the bill set out to solve, which is that we tried to do one thing to help teachers, and lawyers did another thing. Are we solving that problem that folks who took COVID leave during that time under the original bill we passed are now going to get paid?
Yes. So if you recall, the sticking point was there was language in LD 993, which became law, that said the leave had to be used prior to the effective date of this act. That no longer exists in this version of the bill. So there should be no concern with that going forward, which I believe was the big sticking point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'm trying to digest this all because I have some concerns that it might change it in ways that might not be getting to the sponsor's intent and the intent of the conversation we all discussed here. Do I have any thoughts from the committee? Representative Sylvester?
So I just had one more quick question, right? So Steve, the 60-day part is moving forward, right? So that's not retroactive. School districts don't have to go and figure out who had 60 days in 2021, right? This is just going forward from the enactment of the bill, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And do we feel like the language is clear on that?
That's correct. So if you look at the unallocated part in section 2, that would say that has to be, any leave that was used under LD 993 has to be sort of restored to that employee. But going forward, it would apply. So if somebody has 60 days or more of accrued time, they would not be eligible.
Okay, all right.
So the 60-day portion would kick in when this bill would go into effect, correct?
That is correct.
Representative Sylvester.
Then I would make a motion not to pass as amended.
Well, this
or,
is just.
I'm sorry. I would say, and from my, you know what I'm saying. From my point of view, I'm waiting to get knee surgery, so I'm sitting here with frozen vegetables on my knee. So it's one of the days it's acting up. So I apologize for not being as clear today as I normally am. I mean, I can't even blame the Tylenol. But if what I'm saying is the language is good from my point of view as written.
Mr. Lane, can you pop it back up on the screen again in the federal funding portion? Can we see, is it a shall or a may? If it's shall, I think it should be may in case funding.
It is a shall, but it says including but not limited to sort of the federal programs that we've already discussed today, ESSER grants under ARP. So I don't know whether the committee wants to change it to a may. I mean, I think, whether that would be a substantive change would certainly might require reconsideration, but.
My gut instinct from my work in education and dealing with other funding bills is that may is often a better word to go that doesn't involve more trips for the department and issues further on down the line. We've gotten into some trouble with shall and other funding bills. So that would be my preference, but I open that up to the committee for discussion. Representative Sylvester?
I would concur with that. I think that, that I read it more clearly as may than as shall. That's why I was asking whether or not I thought whether this met that language threshold, but I would defer to you with your experience in the education funding.
To say, if anyone wants a bedtime story of me reading through the funding portions of the statute, happy to jump in. But kidding aside, I think May would be a much cleaner bill. Any other thoughts or feelings, since we did have this as a unanimous report out of the committee? Representative Drinkwater?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have a problem with the May. Having talked to a few of the superintendents, they would prefer to use the federal funds.
Yeah.
So they would have a good hefty balance at the end of their fiscal year.
Yeah.
Which, as we all know, in a town meeting form of government, that a lot of that money is carried over to decrease next year's budget. So I don't have a problem with May, and I think most of our superintendents would use it wisely.
So with the change to May, I'm not clear, do we have to take a vote on changing that, or is that just a cleanup?
It's really the committee's decision on whether that's a substantive change. If the committee feels it's substantive, they should probably vote to reconsider it. But if there's sort of unanimous agreement that May is fine, I can just make the change a little bit more informally.
All right, I'm seeing nods, but Representative Pepper?
Thank you. To my ear, because it already says administrative unit shall, to the extent that funds are available to be used, I think it's an easy change to make, and we don't need to reconsider.
Okay.
My thought.
Like a wedding, speak now or forever hold your peace. I think with that, since there's no changes, I think move on to the next language review.
My next one is LD 1879. Let me share my screen with you. So this one, if you recall, is an act to support law enforcement officers, corrections officers, E911 dispatchers, firefighters, and emergency medical services persons diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. So if you recall, the committee voted so that when a new category is added to the presumption, there is a report at the 5-year mark and then again at the 10-year mark. Because the committee had some concerns with the data that was collected and the sort of the length of time of the data that was collected pursuant to the report that sort of stemmed this bill. But if you recall, the committee also voted to extend the repeal from October 1st of 2022 to 2025. That doesn't actually work because you would have a situation where since the category was added last year, the first report at the 5-year mark would be due in 2026, but this paragraph would be repealed in 2025. So you wouldn't necessarily be able to capture all of the data correctly. It wouldn't be a full picture, it would only be a couple of years. So the committee might want to consider whether the committee wants to go forward with sort of pushing out the repeal date even further, because as it stands right now, the bill is not really workable in terms of, I think, what the committee intended.
Representative Sylvester?
Thank you. Yeah, so that was something we didn't consider when we were going through this. I've been sort of noodling it around, and I wondered if it might make more sense to give the committee the opportunity to report out a bill every time the reports come in, so that if we found out that there were, or some future committee of folks sitting here found out that there had been some great harm, they'd be able to modify, change the bill, rather than absolutely sunsetting it at a date that we won't have all the data collected. So it's sort of the ability to act as the data comes in. But I didn't know how my colleagues thought about that. That's really the only solution that I've come up with so far.
Anyone have any thoughts?
The only thing I would say too is So your next report, based on what the committee's motion was at the last work session, I believe the next report would be due January 1st of 2026. And then there would be a report due January 1st, 2027. And then the 10-year report for the one that was just added last year would be January 1st of 2032.
Representative Gear?
Yeah, I'm wondering why we can't just change the reporting date so they align with the, can we change the 2026 report, make it a 4-year report or something like that? So it comes up in time to, before the expiration of the statute. Is that possible? No?
I defer to Mr. Langland on this one.
All right.
So it's 2025 and it was just added last year. I think you could certainly do whatever you want in terms of the reporting date, but I think there was consensus that obviously the more data, the better, and that there was concern obviously that the newest group that was added last fall did not obviously give out enough data for the committee to consider this year. So you could certainly do that if you want to. It's just a matter of what the committee feels is an appropriate amount of data that it wants to collect in terms of, is it 4 years or 5 years? So I think it's really a policy decision in terms of what the committee feels it wants to collect for data.
I mean, I think if we take as the governing factor that we want to be able to review the program in a reasonable amount of time, it seems logical to me to align the reporting with that by making it a shorter reporting time, so the data is available when we want that to when that is scheduled to happen. So rather than changing something else, so that would be my preference.
So I would say let me share my screen again. I did draft, so these reporting dates would be as the committee voted last time on this bill. But you can see even the first one would still be after the repeal date. So you would have a situation where the report is due a year after the presumption doesn't exist anymore. So you wouldn't have sort of a complete data point for that. So I don't know if that helps the committee's discussion or not.
So Steve, if we scheduled the report date for 2025 in time to review the program and report out a bill, would that solve the problem? Because then we could, and then subsequent 5 years to that. So we're aligning that initial date with the review and then going every 5 years from then.
You could do that. I just don't think you wouldn't have five years for the first full report, right?
Right, but 4 years in terms of a review, 4 years is still a good bit of data. So I guess I'm not too uncomfortable with that.
The other thing is the repeal is October 1st of 2025. So if you're going to add 4 years, I think that would put you at what would January? Would that be January 1st?
So that might only be 3 years. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Numbers are not my thing, but I'm trying to. I don't know. I mean, whatever the committee wants to do. I just wanted to point out that I think the way it was voted is a little bit unworkable because of the repeal date. But
okay. Representative Sylvester or Representative Gear, I didn't mean to cut you off. You're still mid thought. Okay, Representative Sylvester.
Yeah, so I think I would feel better either moving the date back or so that you're dealing with a specific report. But in thinking about that, what I was really trying to do was to give more of a surgical tool to the committee so that every time a report came in, they could address that specific report rather than more of a demolition tool, which is to do away with the whole thing with a blanket sunset. But but I'm curious, I guess, what Representative Drinkwater thinks about that.
Floor is yours, Representative.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I just think we need to change the date. Like she said, 4 years of data is good data, and I don't think this is a substantive change. Let's just change the date and move on. And Mike, Representative Sylvester is looking to change his vegetables.
Okay, so let's change the date. And if we're all in agreement, I don't think we need to reopen this, so.
And are we changing the date of the sunset to 2026, or are we changing the date of the report?
I would go with the report. That's my recommendation.
Okay, so that'd be 3 years of data by the time it implements, and okay.
Is that amenable to Representative Sylvester?
Yeah, I just, having followed this report, I know how they struggled to get enough cases for it to actually put forward meaningful data, but that would be fine.
Okay. Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll change that one date and I guess move on to the next language review unless Representative Sylvester or anyone else has any other thoughts or concerns.
If I could have some clarification. So you're looking at changing the January 1st, 2026 report date to January 1st, 2025. Is that what I'm understanding? Because the sunset is 10/1/2025. And do you want the ability to report out a bill, or do you want to just leave it as it is? I think there is a general joint rule that says that if a committee receives a report, then it can report out a bill, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it's better to put it in if you really do want the ability to do that.
I think it's always smart to put it in on those things, and that's pretty common practice as well. So,
so the other thing is, do you want me to leave the provision that says each time a category is added, there will be a report at the 5 and 10-year mark as originally voted by the committee? Is that?
I think so. Representative Sylvester, I'm seeing a nod.
I would think so. And my only add-on is that again, math and NEOWI, I was just trying to, I believe that's a full budget session. So that's 2025 as a 6-month session, not a short session. Because we'd be going in on the next session will start on the 23rd and then a session on the 25th, right? I'm wondering if we want to push it back till April to give the committee a chance to have their meeting with the department to hear this report is coming and then still have time to act on it, or if we want it to be January 1st. That was my only other question. Just as the way the reports come, usually you have a new committee kind of getting their legs under them. And this kind of report, they might not quite have their legs under them yet.
Seeing thumbs up.
Perfect.
Sorry, one more piece. So I had sort of spelled out in statute the other 2 reporting dates. So there's a 2027 reporting date. So this is based on what you decided about every 5 years and not every 5 years, once at 5 years and once at 10 years. So there would be one due at January 1st of 2027 and one due at January 1st of 2032. I don't know, you'd still run into the same issue where it might be repealed. So do you want to, I'm trying to figure out what the committee is thinking.
But there's only a sunset that one time in this bill. In 2025. So that's the one I'm most concerned that the committee has all the information about. I think a January report, otherwise hearing that there's a problem or no problem at the beginning of the session is probably fine.
Okay, so you want me to leave those 2 reporting dates or do you want me to exclude them?
I would leave them.
Okay. Okay. And the reporting date was changed to April 1st of 2025?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. I think I have everything. If not, I know where to find you guys. Would you like me to move on to my Next language review.
Next, please.
Okay. I don't think this one will be as hard. So let me share my screen with you. So this is LD 1891, an act to continue supporting safe drinking water for Maine families. It was 12 ought to pass as amended and 1 absentee. So if you recall, this changes the funding from $500,000 to $1 million, and it specifies that up to 10% of the funds may be used for program administration.
Looks good to me.
And there is obviously the fiscal notice, just
Yeah.
because it's pretty much a funding bill. If there are no questions, I'm happy to proceed.
Yeah, let's move on to the next one. I'm not seeing any hands.
Okay. The next one that I have is LD 1925. This is a resolve regarding legislative review of portions of Chapter 9, rules governing administrative civil money penalties for labor law violations, a major substantive rule of the Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Standards. So this was voted 7 ought to pass, and initially it was voted 5 ought not to pass. But the way, this is a little technical, but so the way that major substantive rules work is that if the legislature fails to act on the resolve authorizing the department to adopt the rules, then the department can adopt them. And so an ought not to pass vote actually is considered a failure to act. So obviously the majority wanted the department to be able to adopt the rules, and it was clear from the discussion that the minority did not. And so I'd reached out to the minority on the report, and I asked them if they would change their vote to ought to pass as amended to specify that the department cannot adopt those rules, because if for some reason the majority report failed enactment, then the minority report would be accepted, and that would actually have the same effect. So obviously the minority did not wish to have the department be able to adopt them. So it's a little bit in the weeds on that, but so what this does is this just says the department cannot adopt it, and it's a minority amendment. And there is no fiscal impact, no fiscal note required.
I'll ask the folks who are on the minority, any questions or changes on that? Not seeing, so I think we're all set on that. Any other outstanding language reviews, Jillian?
I don't believe so. I do have a draft letter stemming from the conversation on Monday from the quasi-state independent agency entities. I can share that with you as well. I did not hear any concerns based on the review that was conducted Monday, so I just drafted a sort of boilerplate,
great,
all is well in labor land kind of memo that goes to the Government Oversight Committee. So if there, and I'm happy to send this to you as well, if there are any objections, then if you could just let me know as soon as possible. But other than that, we have scratched that off our ever-growing to-do list.
So I would say if folks don't have questions now, Steve, if you could email it out now, and because of the deadline we're facing, let's set a deadline of everyone take a look at it over your lunch break, and then please get back to Mr. Langland by 5 p.m. tonight. And if we haven't heard anything, then we'll consider it good to go out tomorrow. Does that sound amenable to everyone? Okay, anything else left in the pile for us to take a look at?
I don't think so. I think that concludes my portion of today's events.
Perfect. Well, before we adjourn, I do just want to remind everyone that we do have appropriations, everyone's favorite day of the year, tomorrow at 1 p.m. You should have gotten your packets when we were in the chambers. Was that last week? I think that was last week. So please bring those, be prepared with your questions. If you cannot make it and there was anything in the packet that jumps out at you that you would like to have clarification on, please email Mr. Langan and myself and my co-chair, as well as the whole committee, just so that we can make sure those are asked and on the record. And then one last thing I did want to say before we all adjourn, I know we've all been, pretty silly and goofy today, and I know it's a really hard time in the session, and I just wanted to remind everyone to be patient with each other. Reminder that we are a citizens legislature. Questions about credibility or where our head's at, we're all in the same crazy dome together. So just be kind to each other, be kind to your colleagues, and just recognize, I know it's pretty easy to get worked up about different things. And I know things are just going to get crazier and crazier, not to make a nerdy reference, but I always think of this time of session of like the, original Star Wars movie where they're the trash compactor and it just keeps closing in and closing in. And we're pretty much at that point. So, just try to make sure that we remember we're all human. We're trying to get out of the trash compactor. We're just maybe all not agreeing about which ladder or which piece of, trash to climb up on. So with that, just wanted to add that in there. Representative Drinkwater?
Any word on hybrids, masks, or moving back into the State House for meetings?
So they are testing 2 committees with hybrid this week. We actually did our Ledge Council meeting with a hybrid last Thursday, and I think we're doing our Ledge Council as a hybrid this coming tomorrow, and we're also going to be discussing that as well. Our goal is to try to have the hybrid availability. We're sort of at this peak of like the technology's gotten into the State House right as we're all wrapping up our work, but I think the goal is to discuss that tomorrow with Ledge Council and hopefully have some next steps. Representative Warren? And that was a different dog. That wasn't the normal Bailey. Well, I don't know about the hybrid method, but I don't know how I'm going to handle committee without having the dogs,
I don't know. I detected a tone in that dog's voice that was not kind.
Yeah, she saw the mailman. This house is not fond of the mailman, which just breaks my heart because bless the USPS for being here every single day. Well, with that, Representative Warren seems to have taken her hand down. So I think it is officially time for us to adjourn. Everyone go get lunch. Take care of yourself. Be kind. See you all later.